You're sitting across from someone who just said something designed to cut you. Maybe it's a coworker questioning your competence in front of everyone. Maybe it's someone mocking your appearance. Maybe it's an ex trying to get under your skin. In that moment, your blood heats up. Your jaw tightens. Every fiber in your body screams at you to fire back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But here's what separates boys from men. Boys react. Men respond. And the Stoics, those ancient masters of inner power, understood something that most people will never grasp. The person who needs to say the least holds the most power. The man who can remain unmoved while others lose their composure doesn't just win the argument. He transcends it entirely. Today, I'm going to show you 5 responses that will silence anyone who tries to disrespect you. But these aren't clever comebacks you memorize. They're not witty one-liners designed to make you look smart. These are weapons forged in the philosophical fire of ancient Rome and Greece, tested by emperors and slaves alike, and backed by modern psychology. When you master these responses, you don't just handle disrespect. You become the kind of man people instinctively respect without knowing why. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people in any room are usually the quietest? They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to explain themselves. They exist in a different frequency, operating from a place of such deep certainty that external noise simply doesn't penetrate. That's what we're building here. Not a collection of tricks, but a fortress of the mind that nothing can breach. The ancient Stoics had a term for this. They called it the inner citadel. Imagine your mind as an impenetrable fortress. Within these walls, you are sovereign. You control your thoughts, your reactions, your judgments. Everything outside those walls, including the words and actions of others, exists in a realm beyond your control. When someone insults you, their words are like arrows bouncing off stone. They cannot enter unless you open the gates. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his private journal something that would echo through millennia. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a moment. The emperor of Rome, commanding legions, ruling nations, with the wealth of an empire at his disposal, and his greatest insight was about internal power, not external dominance. Now, modern neuroscience has caught up to what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. When you pause before responding to provocation, something remarkable happens in your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thinking, has a chance to override your amygdala, the emotional alarm system. Studies from MIT show that pauses of just 3 to 9 seconds can completely shift the outcome of tense interactions. That's not mysticism. That's biology working in your favor. But here's where most men fail. They understand the concept intellectually. But when the moment arrives, when someone disrespects them in real time, all that knowledge evaporates. They react like everyone else. Their ego takes control. And in that moment of reaction, they lose the only thing that truly matters: their composure, their center, their power. So let me give you the first response that will change everything. The strategic pause. When someone insults you, attacks you, or tries to provoke you, your first response should be no response at all. Not because you're scared, not because you don't have an answer, but because you refuse to dance to their rhythm. You're going to count to 3 in your mind. 1, 2, 3. During those 3 seconds, something extraordinary happens. The person who insulted you starts to feel the weight of their own words. Silence creates cognitive tension. The human brain cannot tolerate an unfinished loop. They threw something at you, expecting an immediate reaction, and you gave them nothing. That nothing becomes everything. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught his students a fundamental truth. He said, "Remember that it is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." Read that again slowly. The insult doesn't exist in their words. It exists in your interpretation. When you pause, you're creating space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lives your freedom. I want you to picture this scenario. You're in a meeting. Someone undermines your idea in front of the team, says something dismissive. Everyone looks at you, waiting for your response. The old you would jump in immediately, defensive, explaining, justifying. But you've trained for this moment. You look at them calmly. 3 seconds pass. The room feels it. That silence carries more weight than any words you could manufacture in haste. When you finally speak, your voice is steady, measured. You're not reacting to them. You're responding from your center. Here's what they don't teach you about silence. It's not passive. It's the most active thing you can do. You're choosing, in real time, not to be controlled by external events. You're exercising the only true power any human being has. The power to choose your response. That choice, that conscious decision to pause, sends a message louder than any comeback. It says, "Your words don't control me. I'm operating from a different level." Negotiation research backs this up completely. When someone makes an offer or says something designed to get a reaction, and you respond with strategic silence, they often backtrack, soften their position, or reveal information they didn't intend to share. The discomfort of silence makes people fill the gap. And in filling that gap, they frequently weaken their own stance without you saying a single word. But the pause is just the foundation. Now let me show you the second response, the reframe. This is where you transform their attack into an observation about them, not about you. When someone insults you, they're really telling you everything about themselves. They're revealing their insecurities, their fears, their need to elevate themselves by diminishing others. The reframe is about making that visible without being cruel. It's surgical, it's precise, and it's devastatingly effective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like that." He wasn't talking about forgiveness in the weak sense. He was talking about maintaining your own standard, your own code, regardless of how others behave. When someone tries to pull you down to their level, the reframe keeps you elevated. Here's an ancient example that perfectly illustrates this principle. Socrates, arguably the wisest man in Athens, was walking through the marketplace when someone came up to him and, without warning, punched him in the face. Everyone watched, waiting to see how the great philosopher would respond. Socrates simply touched his cheek, smiled slightly, and said, "It's a pity one can never tell when one should wear a helmet in the streets." He didn't defend himself. He didn't attack back. He simply reframed the entire interaction, turning his attacker into a random hazard like a falling object, completely beneath the threshold of personal offense. The psychological principle here is crucial. When you reframe an insult, you're refusing to accept the frame they're trying to impose. They want you to see yourself as insulted, as a victim, as someone who needs to defend their worth. But you're not playing that game. You're showing them that their words have no power over how you see yourself. That's what breaks people who try to disrespect you. They need your reaction to feel powerful. When you don't give it to them, their power evaporates. Let me give you modern examples. Someone calls you arrogant. The reactive response is to defend yourself, to explain that you're not arrogant, to justify your confidence. That's weak. The reframe is to calmly say, "Interesting that confidence bothers you." You're not arguing. You're not defending. You're simply redirecting the focus to their perception, where it actually belongs. Someone accuses you of not caring about something. Instead of explaining all the ways you do care, you might say, "I care about what matters." Apparently, we have different definitions of what that is. You've just reframed the entire dynamic. Here's the key to making this work. Your tone cannot be sarcastic or defensive. It must come from genuine curiosity or complete indifference. If there's any edge in your voice, any need to wound them back, it doesn't work. The power of the reframe lies in your complete detachment from their opinion. You're not trying to hurt them. You're simply observing reality from a higher vantage point. The third response might be the most counterintuitive, but it's also the most powerful. Agree with the truth. Seneca, the wealthy advisor to Emperor Nero, taught something radical. He said, "Why is it an insult to be told what is self-evident?" If someone insults you with something that's actually true, your move is to own it completely, not defensively, not with shame. With the confidence of someone who knows himself so well that external observations are merely facts, not weapons. Here's a story that demonstrates this perfectly. Cato the Younger, a Roman senator and Stoic philosopher, was arguing a case in court when his opponent became so enraged that he walked up and spit directly in Cato's face. Everyone in the courtroom gasped, waiting for violence to erupt. Cato calmly wiped the spit from his face, looked at his opponent with a slight smile, and said, "I will swear to anyone that people are wrong to say you cannot use your mouth." The entire room erupted in laughter, not at Cato, but at his attacker, who had just been completely disarmed by Cato's refusal to treat the insult as an insult at all. The paradox of this response is that accepting truth removes the weapon entirely. If someone points out a flaw you actually have, and you respond with denial or defensiveness, you've just confirmed that this flaw has power over you. But if you acknowledge it without shame, what can they do? They were expecting resistance, expecting you to crumble or explode. Instead, you've robbed them of the satisfaction completely. Modern application. Someone says you talk too much. You could get offended, explain yourself, try to prove you don't. Or you could simply say, "You're right, I do love a good conversation." Someone points out you made a mistake at work. Instead of making excuses, "Yeah, that wasn't my best work. I'll handle it." The confidence in owning your reality, including your flaws and errors, is magnetic. It's the opposite of what insecure people do. And that difference is what makes you unforgettable. But here's the critical distinction. This only works if you've genuinely accepted yourself, flaws and all. If you're secretly ashamed of the thing they're pointing out, your agreement will sound hollow and defensive. The Stoics spent years training themselves to separate their worth from external judgments. They understood that being bald or short or awkward or unsuccessful in some venture, these are just facts about temporary conditions. They're not judgments about your core value as a human being. Now, the fourth response is about shifting the entire power dynamic through a simple tool. The calm question. When someone attacks you, your instinct is to make a statement, to defend, to explain. But the Stoics understood something profound. Questions hold more power than statements. When you respond to aggression with genuine curiosity, You force the other person to think instead of react, and thinking is the enemy of emotional aggression. Epictetus taught his students to view every obstacle, every insult, every challenge as an opportunity to practice philosophy. When someone disrespects you, that's not a problem to solve through confrontation. It's a chance to understand, to grow, to demonstrate strength through curiosity rather than combat. Here's how this works in practice. Someone says, "You think you're so smart, don't you?" The reactive response is to defend your intelligence or attack theirs. The calm question is, "What makes you say that?" Said without sarcasm, without edge, with genuine interest. Now they have to think. They have to articulate. And in most cases, they'll realize their attack was based on feeling, not fact. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. When you ask someone a question, their brain shifts from the emotional centers to the analytical centers. They can't stay in attack mode while genuinely trying to answer. This is why good therapists use questions. This is why Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, taught entirely through questions. He knew that forcing people to examine their own thinking was more powerful than any argument he could make. More examples. Someone accuses you of not being a team player. Instead of listing all the ways you contribute, can you give me a specific example of what you mean? Someone says you don't listen. What did I miss? Help me understand your perspective. These aren't manipulative tactics. They're genuine invitations for the other person to move from emotion to reason. And in that shift, aggression dies. The key is your tone and intention. If you're asking to trap them, to prove them wrong, they'll sense it. But if you're asking because you genuinely want to understand their perspective, even if their perspective is irrational, the dynamic changes completely. You become the adult in the room, the calm center around which their emotional storm spins uselessly. The fifth and final response is perhaps the most advanced. The dignified dismissal. Some people, some situations, some comments are simply beneath your threshold of engagement. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've decided, consciously, that your energy is too valuable to waste on meaningless conflict. The dignified dismissal is about acknowledging something once, if at all, and then moving forward as if it never happened. Seneca wrote that it is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence. The dignified dismissal is recognizing when someone doesn't deserve even the gift of your attention. This isn't about ignoring people to be rude. It's about understanding that some battles diminish you just by participating. Remember the story I told you earlier about Cato being spit upon? There's a sequel. After his brilliant response in the courtroom, someone later asked him about the incident. Cato responded, "I don't even remember being hit." That's the ultimate level of this response. Not just handling the disrespect in the moment, but refusing to carry it with you afterward. The modern world is full of people trying to pull you into their drama. Social media makes it worse. Everyone has an opinion about everything. Everyone wants to provoke a reaction. The dignified dismissal is about maintaining such a high standard for what deserves your mental and emotional energy that most provocations don't even register. In person, this looks like maintaining eye contact, showing no emotional reaction, and then simply changing the subject or walking away. Not storming off dramatically, just concluding that particular interaction because it has no value. Online, it's the art of not responding at all, not blocking in anger, not explaining yourself, simply declining to participate in that particular exchange. The body language here is crucial. Your face shows mild interest, perhaps, but no distress. Your voice, if you do speak, is measured and calm. You might nod slightly, as if you've heard them, and then you move your attention elsewhere. The message is clear without being stated. This doesn't affect me. This doesn't deserve my energy. We're done here. But here's what makes the dignified dismissal so difficult. Your ego will scream at you. It will tell you that silence means weakness, that walking away means defeat, that you need to prove something. This is where years of Stoic practice pay off, because you've trained yourself to recognize that needing to prove something to someone who doesn't matter is the actual weakness. Real strength is being so secure in your own worth that external validation becomes irrelevant. Now, here's the truth that ties all 5 responses together. None of these techniques will work if you're faking it. If you're using these responses as manipulation tactics while secretly seething inside, people will sense it. The power of these responses comes from genuine internal strength, from having built that inner citadel so solidly that external events truly don't shake you. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire life training his mind. Every morning, he would prepare himself mentally for the difficulties ahead. He would remind himself that people would be rude, ungrateful, arrogant. Not to be pessimistic, but to be prepared. When those things happened, he wasn't surprised or shaken. He had already decided how he would respond. That's the daily work. You don't build unshakable composure by reading about it. You build it by practicing. Every time someone cuts you off in traffic, every time a coworker makes a snide comment, every time life throws something unexpected at you. These aren't just annoying moments. They're training. They're opportunities to strengthen your inner citadel, to prove to yourself that you can remain centered regardless of external chaos. The Stoics also warned about fake strength, about men who mistake emotional suppression for wisdom. True Stoicism isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling deeply while not being controlled by those feelings. You can feel anger at disrespect and still choose not to react from that anger. You can feel hurt and still maintain your composure. The feelings aren't the problem. The loss of control is. This is where most men get it wrong. They think being stoic means being emotionless, cold, robotic. That's not strength. That's brittleness. Real strength is being fully alive, fully feeling, and still maintaining your ability to choose your response. It's feeling the pull of your emotions and saying, I see you, I feel you, and I'm choosing something different. Think about the man you want to become. Not the man who never faces disrespect. That's impossible. But the man who faces disrespect and remains completely unmoved in his core. The man who can stand in the middle of chaos and embody calm. The man who doesn't need to prove anything because he knows who he is. That's what these 5 responses represent. They're not just ways to handle difficult people. They're expressions of a fully developed inner life. They're proof that you've done the work, that you've built something inside yourself that external circumstances cannot touch. When you master the strategic pause, you're demonstrating that time is your ally, not your enemy. When you employ the reframe, you're showing that you control the narrative of your own life. When you agree with the truth, you're proving that your self-worth isn't tied to being perfect. When you use the calm question, you're elevating conflict into dialogue. And when you execute the dignified dismissal, you're declaring that not everything deserves your attention. These aren't just responses. They're the visible manifestation of internal mastery. They're the proof that you've built that inner citadel. And once you have that fortress, once you've trained yourself to operate from that place of deep calm, something remarkable happens. People stop testing you as much. There's something about a truly centered man that makes others think twice before trying to provoke him. They sense, perhaps unconsciously, that their attacks will find no purchase, that there's nothing to grab onto. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone disrespects you, tries to provoke you, insults you, or attacks you, I want you to try one of these 5 responses. Start with the strategic pause. Just 3 seconds of silence. See what happens. Notice how it feels to be in control of your reaction rather than controlled by their action. Then practice the others. Make them part of who you are. Not techniques you deploy, but natural expressions of your character. Because that's when they become truly powerful. When they're not something you do, but something you are. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 5 responses resonates most with you. Which one do you need to practice? Which one challenges you the most? I read every comment, and I want to know where you are on this journey. And if you're ready to go deeper into this path, to become the kind of man who walks through life unshaken, hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to help you build that inner citadel, to transform ancient wisdom into modern strength. Every video is another tool for your fortress, another practice for your mind. Remember what Epictetus said. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The only question is whether you'll use that power, whether you'll do the work, whether you'll become the man who cannot be shaken because he's built something inside himself that the world cannot touch. The ancient Stoics are watching, and they're waiting to see what you'll do with this knowledge.